So those of you looking out to sea will obviously be able to see the buoys that we have there. Oh, and some lightning just beyond. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But you'll see the red and the yellow buoys in the water. Very large buoys. Now they're just placed there temporarily for the air show to assist the pilots with their positioning. And it's all about safety, as safety is always our main concern at any air show. And it just assists the pilots with how far they're in to the crowd line. And the two red buoys that you can see in the middle are called the datum. And that's the centre point of the display area for the pilots. So those of you by the red buoys will be seeing all the aircraft using that as their centre point.
Of course, Kath, Malta has had an important relationship with aviation ever since the dawn of the industry. As I said earlier on, 1915, the first flight. During the 1920s and 30s, Malta was used as a staging post for many record-breaking flights around the world, for example, many of which were being carried out by British Empire pilots. So sort of Malta in the middle of the Mediterranean was the perfect place to land and refuel on the way to Egypt, India, etc. And then of course World War II, legendary air battle. But I'll talk a bit more about this later on, because right now, Kath, as you can see, if you look to the left, I think is that the Islander coming in, or is it the King Air? Still the Islander. Still entertaining us. Watch carefully now, ladies and gentlemen. The flare drop is coming up.
And the flares, as you'll see, there it is, smoking its orange smoke, is being used as a marker. So the fixed-wing aircraft are the ones that will go out to sea and have the excellent radars and forward-looking infrared to spot anything in the water. And once they do see something, they can drop flares. As you can see now, there's 4 of them. And the flares give not only an indication of location of a possible incident or something that he's looking at, but also the direction and speed of the wind, which would assist the helicopter maybe in pulling survivors out of the water, because wind, speed and direction is very, very important for pilots to know.
And now the King Air is coming in from the left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen. Watch carefully. This is, we can say, Malta, the pride of the Maltese Air Wing, the Armed Forces of Malta's Air Wing. There we go. It's interesting how during the practice yesterday, Kath, we were witnessing the different air forces doing their shows, and the Italians, for example, we will be watching later on, the Coast Guard, they also use flares, but each organization, each Air Force or Coast Guard uses a different type of flare. I mean, there's differences even in the type of flares used by different air forces around the world according to their needs.
Orange smoke appears to be the colour of choice though, doesn't it? Because it's extremely visible on the water, as we can see now. It's a great example. You can see that from miles away.
Also happens to be my favorite color. Now seeing the underside of the beautiful King Air aircraft.
Yeah, the King Air then being a civil utility aircraft, the USA Beechcraft aircraft, manufactured between 1964 and 2021. And what's interesting is that it is so popular, it outsold all of its turboprop competitors combined. Clearly very popular aircraft with pilots and air forces all around the world. There's a waggle of the wings, which I'm sure all you pro-aviation enthusiasts out there will know what it means. But for the potential couple of you that don't, it's a hello, it's a goodbye, it's a thank you for being here. It's a little greeting from the crew on board, and that's what we just had, the wing waggle. Now, we have had some news from the Turkish Air Force. Unfortunately, Solo Turk has had to not do his display today, so they won't be displaying today, unfortunately. But if we look out there, we can pretty much see why. As I mentioned before, safety is our #1 priority. And looking out there, we have got a bit of an interstate horizon and obvious thunderstorms in the area. So for those reasons, Solo Turk has declined to fly today, which is disappointing but completely understandable. We hope to have them tomorrow though.
Next year they can make it October.
Thank you very much to the air flight of the Armed Forces Malta for showcasing their 3 workhorses there. Wonderful to see them.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Malta International Airshow 2025. I was talking about aviation in Malta over the years. We had arrived at the World War II era, when of course there are legendary stories of aviation here in Malta over the Maltese islands. Some of course very sad, some very heroic. The legend of faith, hope and charity, the hurricanes, the Spitfires, and of course, we mustn't forget the bombers that would leave from Malta to attack the Axis convoys between Sicily and North Africa. So World War II, huge amount of stories regarding aviation in Malta during that period. Another important date was 1956. The Suez Crisis, when a huge number of British and French planes were in Malta that eventually ended up in battles over Egypt for a short period of time. And then more peaceful uses for aviation. For example, 1973, the formation of our first national airline, Air Malta. And as I said, the first Maltese military aircraft was registered in 1971, a Bell 47G helicopter donated by Germany. And then, since then, we've had a number of milestones in aviation in Malta. The establishment of the Malta Airshow in 1993. A large number of international companies do maintenance on aeroplanes and helicopters here in Malta. Big, well-known companies have their base here. And Malta is also still, as it has always been, a very important aviation hub for various airlines and transport planes. So that's why there is such a huge following for the aviation industry and hobby on these islands.
My first 12 hours, 11 to 11. Because of that, I could stay.
Then we'll start training. We'll still sit there.
What a great song. Did that film infuse anyone to want to learn to fly or join the military and flying jets? Well, I know it certainly encouraged me to join the military. And I joined the Royal Air Force as an air traffic controller many, many years ago. And I did 6 years as an air traffic controller, and I absolutely loved it. It's a great profession. And obviously, all these guys that are putting on the Airshow for you today can't fly without the permission and direction of air traffic control. So, I have Joe DiGiorgio, did I say that right? With me here, and he is a long-standing member of the team at the air traffic control team at the airport here. Joe, so how long exactly have you been working as an air traffic controller?
I joined ATC more than 40 years ago. I joined as an assistant controller in the private course, which is control. Then ACC controller, eventually approach control, ended up as a supervisor of the watch, and then joint management.
Wow, so can you explain a little about what being an air traffic controller means? What do they do?
Well, air traffic control, the most thing that they have to do is to keep aircraft safe from each other. Set of parameters, distance, vertical, and also lateral distance that they have to keep aircraft away from each other, of course, so that they are flying safe. And one of the worst nightmares an air traffic controller can have is weather like today when it's thunderstorms, because aircraft tend to fly to avoid the thunderstorms, so the control has to be very, very specific, and air traffic controllers are, at that time, they have to be very, very careful in the cases that
Absolutely, and we can see that firsthand here, which is why, unfortunately, we've lost the first Typhoon and the Solo Turk from the programme at the moment. So we have got a bit of a break now between the two. But as we mentioned, air traffic control's #1 priority is safety. The pilot's #1 priority is safety, and that's what we have to deal with. We can control a lot of things, but we can't control the weather. So, as my time in air traffic control, I remember the sentence was always facilitating the safe and efficient conduct of flight.
safe, orderly, and efficient.
That's it. And you mentioned then, so you might have to assist pilots fly around weather. So how do you see the weather in the air traffic control tower?
Yeah, and we have radars, and we have radar, we're actually on the radars, and we can assist aircraft flying around weather. However, the weather radar that an aircraft has is much more detailed than what we have. We have a 2D radar, but the aircraft has a 3D radar. So sometimes, even though we don't see any weather on our radar, the pilots can see weather, and they will ask us to avoid the weather. We have to avoid the weather.
So you see 2D, so I'm thinking this through now. So if they have 3D, they might be able to go over the top or underneath the weather, is that right?
That's right, they can go over the top or underneath, but of course if they're approaching you to land, and they have to go through the levels down to landing, it's, they have to go through the weather, so the best thing is to avoid it by going there.
Sure. And we've seen some lightning as we've been sat here. How could that affect an aircraft if it was unlucky enough to be struck by lightning?
Well, what we learned is that the aircraft works like a Faraday's field, so it has a lightning strike. Usually, most of the time, it doesn't do damage to the aircraft. But there were reports that the aircraft were struck by lightning and they had some damage either on the hull or on
also some electronic damage. So apart from that, flying through a thunderstorm is very bumpy. There's a lot of turbulence. So surely that's why they multiply so called white thunderstorms in good weather.
Of course, of course. And so a little more about air traffic control then. So, have you got any vacancies in your tower? If someone was interested in air traffic control that was Maltese, how might they go about finding out more?
Yeah, we had some vacancies recently and we're going to have in the coming year or two. Someone who wants to join ATC, the minimum that we ask for is either a university degree or a certification or the matriculation certificate that allows you to start a university degree. And after that, the chosen will have to sit for another exam. It's called the FIS. It's selection exam, computer-based, which tests the multi-role tasking, it tests the visual, like left, right, and also adaptability. It takes all this tests. That's about 7 tests that one has to pass on. After this selection, there's an interview phase. Also, when we do interview, we are joined by a psychologist. If the guy or girl passes through that, then they have to sit for a course, 4 to 6 months. The course is done abroad, and our school is so small here that we don't have international courses here. About 6 to 8 months on-the-job training, and after the training they get an exam again, an exam, and before they pass, they can start their job as an airship controller. So the process of the initial selection process until being validated as an airship controller takes about.
Right, so it is a tough process, but I know, I've been through a version of the same, and it was incredibly hard, but incredibly rewarding. And they have positions in the tower here in Malta International Airport. So if you are thinking about it, I would say go for it. I loved it. And I think, well, 40 years plus in the profession, Joe, you enjoyed it too.
Yes, I enjoyed the ride. It was a rough ride sometimes, but I enjoyed it, and I would do it again. I made it.
Same. I loved it. Well, there we are. Thank you very much, Joe.
Well,
And,
Kath,
yep.
you didn't ask him the most important question of all.
Go on.
How many UFOs have you seen? Come on. What do they call them UAEs nowadays?
What do you mean by UFO?
Aliens.
Aliens, never. But UFO may be an unidentified object. It may be an aircraft, which comes into our airspace, and we don't know about it. So it's an identifier for us, to do our own to identify. And most of the time, they are very aircraft that we contact the government agencies, and we don't know them.
So there's a protocol for when that sort of thing happens.
Thank you, Joe. And I know after his 42 odd years, he retires next February. So we wish him all the very best for his retirement, and thank you for all your assistance you've given us for the air show. And don't be a stranger.
Let's give him a round of applause. That's a fantastic career.
Куда? Red Arrow. Вот. Я кажу. Оп, еще.